moving along. Rav Amram Gaon. Where did he live? Little background.
Right. So Rav Amram Gaon, we're now moving later, as you noted, is in the 9th century. He is a Gaon from the Yeshiva in Sura. His father was a Gaon, Rav Sheshna Gaon. My favorite point about Rav Sheshna Gaon is that he is credited with what may be the earliest halachic source to mention kaparos. It has nothing to do with waving something over your head, but that seems to be the earliest source. So Rav Amram Gaon becomes the Gaon after Rav Sheshna. He's not normally, I should note, normally being a Gaon is not hereditary. It isn't a given that the Gaon's son is going to become Gaon. But that does happen in this case.
And Rav Amram Gaon's response to Sharei Tzedek, what's included in that? What's the contents of his response? What issues did he have to address?
Right. So the Sharei Tzedek collection of responsa isn't just his. It's a collection of responsa of various Geonim. We do have responsa of Rav Amram in the Sharei Tzedek collection, as well as in a few others. And they dealt with practical issues. They dealt with marriage and divorce issues. They dealt with Yom Tov issues. Pesach is coming. He had Pesach questions. This is before the time when it became routine for people to sell their chametz. So there's a responsum of Rav Amram Gaon where somebody asks him, if I don't normally do this, however, it happened to be that I gave a non-Jew my chametz before Pesach, and it was still around after Pesach, would I be allowed to buy it back from him? Not as a plan, but it just happened that way, and Rav Amram Gaon approves it. So he dealt with very practical types of questions, and he also gets quoted in the responsa of others. So you see others discussing issues and saying, Ma Rav Amram, or something along those lines, weighed in on this issue.
And the Siddur, the prayer book, the famous prayer book of Rav Amram Gaon, what's unique about it, and is it still influential today as a source for the development of prayer?
Right. So that's a great question. Rav Amram Gaon was approached by the Jews living in Spain for some kind of order of prayer. Worth taking a minute just to explain a little bit of backstory here. In the early period of the Geonim, the major center for Jewish life is in Bavel. There are Jews, as we said, living all around the Mediterranean. There's certainly an old Spanish Jewish community, but it's not that powerful. It's not that significant. In the later years of the period of the Geonim, starting really in the 9th century, for a variety of social reasons, the Jewish community in what's called Andalusia, Spain, Portugal, that area starts to grow, and they don't yet have their own authorities. So they keep writing away to the Gaon, looking for resources to support their community. And that's what you see here, is they want to know, what is it exactly that we're supposed to be davening? So so that's how you get the Siddur of Rav Amram Gaon. After his time, Rav Saja Gaon would write one as well. By the way, the letter that I mentioned earlier, that the Tashbetz uses to show that communities funded people learning in yeshiva, was the letter that was sent to Rav Amram Gaon, asking him for a Seder HaTfilah, for an order of davening. Now, he doesn't just provide an order of davening. He also provides halachic notes. And then his students added material from his responsa as well. It becomes immensely popular. It's republished over the centuries with added material, so that now if you look at something published as Rav Amram Gaon Siddur, unless you're looking at a publication that specifically drills down and tries to identify the different layers, what you're seeing is more than just what Rav Amram provided. But some of the interesting things to me that are found in his Siddur, as an Ashkenazi Jew living in 5783, his Tachanun is more personal than the Tachanun that we have in our Siddur. His Birkat HaMazon, right, after blessing after meals, the Harachaman section that we have after the initial 4 blessings of Birkat HaMazon, we have Harachaman this and Harachaman that. Hashem should provide this. He has a whole different set of Harachamans that are there. His Seder mentions options for what we call karpas. And what's interesting is that he actually calls one of the vegetables karpas. Whereas if you look in the Mishnah and you look in the Gemara, it just says use a vegetable. It doesn't use the word karpas. We today in our Seder, we call that stage of the Seder karpas. Rav Amram Gaon may be the origin of that. His Rosh Hashanah davening includes a trua gedola at the end of the shofar blasts, which comes from the war with Yericho in Yehoshua. We do a tekiah gedola. He has a trua gedola.